How are you, everybody? This is Del K. Brereton, and this is the real spiel. The trumpet needs to be blown right now because there's some things going on in this union that I think we need to have a discussion about. Happy Mother's Day to all of the amazing women of all ethnicities, cultures, languages, and tongues who have taken on the great miracle of bringing life into this world. To all of the fathers who acknowledge that a great woman is a hard thing to find, and all the children who realize that the love of your mother and your father and the honor of them is what allows God to give you life and longevity in the land of the living. And you need to honor those, especially those in the Lord. So, day late, but never a dollar short on Mother's Day. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. I'm here to talk about the rise and the prevalence of, and I'm going to be extremely careful with my words because I want to make sure that I'm not doing what other communities do to us. I'm going to make sure that I'm operating from a place of, I'll call it journalistic integrity and ethics, and don't start by calling folks names who I do not know. But I want to dive into the conversation of, I'll call it Patriot groups. We'll start there. Patriot groups who represent a specific idea and ideology in America, and dive into what those groups bring to the table for the Black community. Okay. I'm trying to share this with us and jump into a scenario where I'm actually able to share this and see if this works like this and see if I can lay it out like that. I think that's going to work for me. And let's see if I can actually do it that way and share what we're looking at here. You can see that. So this is a group. So Patriot Front, a few others, and I'll try to get other segments.
Yes.
Let's see what's sharing here. I'm going to try to get some other before we get off this, but essentially these folks are individuals who have quite a manifesto. And before I get into what they say about themselves, I'm gonna say why I won't be doing again what they do to us. Let me read this. Good day to you. Hey, what's going on? Bloodline Elite. Good morning, Holly Jones. Thank you very much. I will continue to teach and liberate others. And Miss Ann, good to see you. Good to see you. Miss Ann's been one of our longest subscribers, and I'm appreciated to see you. She says, peace and blessings, Brother Del. You've had some great topics lately. Well, you know what? I'm inspired, Miss Ann. So let me just get to the crux of where we're going here. So we have this group called Patriot Front. And I'm telling you this, just do this. I of course, when I did my research into them, the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL, had an opinion. The Southern Poverty Law Center had an opinion, but I don't trust their opinions about us. So if I don't trust the ADL's opinion about me, and I don't trust the Southern Law Society's opinion about me, it would be crazy for me to utilize them and their opinions about another group and say, well, this is what the ADL says about that group, because we know the recklessness about the ADL in America. And please do not, let's distinguish the difference between the ADL in America and the ADL in Israel. The ADL in Israel is actually supportive to the Black Hebrews in Israel. The ADL in America is a completely different animal and should not be confused with the ADL in Israel. Okay, Jonathan Greenblatt's ADL is not doing the same thing as the Israeli ADL at this moment. So I'm focusing on the American ADL and, of course, the Southern Poverty Law Center. Both of these organizations take it upon themselves to be commentators, judges, overseers of what they determine to be racial crime in America. AEL, as many of you heard me say before, they actually teach the FBI. They are an internal agency of America that actually propagandizes the FBI and does intelligence on behalf of the FBI on racial groups that they seem or deem to be dangerous to Jewish people that the ADL prescribes to and prescribe to them. I'm not going to include all Jewish people in respect to what the ADL, who the ADL says they represent. This is the ADL's position, that their job is to predetermine who is anti-Semitic, who's dangerous to them. And remember, those are two different things. You can not even have any anti-Semitic views, but the ADL will still predetermine that you are dangerous to them because of their perspective. And the Southern Law Society also has a perspective on how they determine or who they determine a group to be. So I'm not going to jump onto the other side of that conversation when I know that those groups, those two organizations, have had some very incorrect opinions about our community and our community's faith groups and our community's perspectives. And they have some very woeful origins, speaking specifically of the ADL, and how that organization has come to be and what they have actually supported and how they function and how they operate. It would be crazy of me to go on their website and to look and see what they have an opinion of in respect to this particular group. So let's just let you know, my opinion is mine. It's not the ADL's. Good. So the Patriot, when you go and you do this, right? You go look and you check out what a particular organization says on their own website. I want to know what you guys think of this scenario, right? Then I'll go back and we'll talk about what the ADL and what Southern Law talks about. So their current campaign is called Reclaim America. So Patriot Front, their own website. I'm not going to push their website. I'm just going to call their name. You can go find their website themselves. I'm not going to become an individual who's spreading their foolishness around. But they're called Patriot Front because we have to know their name. And this is what they say. Their recognition statement is that Americans will fully recognize themselves as a people, not really citizens or residents of a country, but a people bearing a unique national interest, rooted in our heritage on this continent. Here we go. Our people, born to this nation of our European race, must reforge themselves as a new collective capable of asserting our right to cultural independence. The life of this nation, life is a complete caps. The life of this nation, unique among all others, will be defended. Okay? Ooh, boy, that's a good old statement, man. I'm just going to recapture the last two actually sentences, but I'll call them a stanza of their poetic sentencing of their what do they refer to as their recognition statement? It says, our people born to this nation of our European race must reforge themselves as a new collective capable of asserting our right to cultural independence. The life of this nation, unique among all others, will be defended. Now, if that ain't a call to order, I don't know what else is. Okay? It is very guarded sentencing. It's very carefully put together, right? By itself, on its own, you might not necessarily over-respond to that. But then, as you watch how they present, that's a different thing. So these gentlemen, and I have not seen any women amongst them, but I'm not saying that there could not be. They march wearing, interestingly enough, white balaclavas. Their faces are covered. They're wearing blue t-shirts and looks like gray pants. They carry American flags, and interestingly enough, they have some amended insignias on their flags. They're walking around as a military type of parade. They march, nothing crazy about that, right? And they at times have smoke grenades when they do their marches. They're clearly concealing their faces, dark glasses, hats, of course, to avoid facial recognition, softwares and capacities for themselves to be identified. Let's, I just want to play one of their videos that I have here that actually comes straight from their website. And I'll try to re-engage because I'm not putting their website up here. So
Patriot Front has assembled activists here in Florida from several states throughout the South to help clean up after the devastation of the hurricane.
So
why is it important for us to be here? Some may ask. Surely the government has this sort of thing handled. Even if they do, and that's certainly up for debate, the government, both state and federal, may be able to clear roads and drain flooding. But on one hand, where they help, in the other, they are prepared to harm. As life resumes, the harm will resume at pace. Children will continue to be corrupted and indoctrinated in schooling institutions. The average American will continue to get fatter, older, and less capable of defending himself and his family. Our rights will be picked off one by the congressional criminals, and an army of pedophiles, profiteers, and gangsters will continue to wage their unrelenting war on the peace and dignity of life that we so cherish. What we must learn from this is that there are two different kinds of help at play here. Ours is a cure, and theirs is a treatment. We wish for health and vitality, and the state only wants a return customer. If we make this change, we must become more self-reliant, not only as individuals, but as families, communities, a nation, and a race. What we're doing here isn't just clearing roads, delivering water, and so on. We're showing an alternative, setting an example, and proving a point. That point being, if we're going to have our country back, we're going to have to take it back from the ground up and not from the elections down. That means...
Okay. So what we have here is we have clearly an activist group, right? And how are you? Good morning. We clearly have an activist group, and their activism is specifically focused on a level of, and I want to, I'm interpreting them, right? So I want to interpret them properly. Their activism is focused on an America that they believe their ancestors forged, and an America that they believe has been taken over, not simply by whites who are liberals, but everyone else that has taken them off the pathway of being what their America is supposed to be. And so big government is a problem for them. the inability for them to simply do what they feel the Constitution afforded them, losing ground to special interest groups, and an America, as they say, that needs to be reformed in the image of their original European ancestors. This is their terminology. Now, I did get a manifesto from, again, the Southern Law Poverty Center, and I want to read their manifesto. And their manifesto apparently is targeted at the African American community. And I want to show you what it says of their manifesto in respect to us. Now, remember, these folks say they want their nation back. They don't like with the direction it's gone. They have an issue with the structure of the same government that has been set up by them and their ancestors. They feel it has gone off the rails. They're trying to pull it back. They don't feel government can help people, so therefore they are an activist group that says they need to do the helping themselves. And so this is their opinion, according to, again, I don't know if this manifesto is true, but this is the manifesto that the Southern Law Poverty, whatever society group has said about them. And it reads as such. An African, for example, may have lived, worked, and even been classed as a citizen in America for centuries, yet he is not American. He is as likely prefers to he likely prefers to be labeled an African American. The same rule applies to others who are not of the founding stock of our people, as well as to those who do not share the common unconsciousness that permeates throughout our greater civilization and the European diaspora. All right, quite a statement. So what they're basically saying is that you are classified, talking of first of all, Black people, the African American. And again, the same rule applies to those others who are not of the founding stock. You are classified as an American, right? You've been grafted in. You're not really an American. In fact, you call yourself an African American. And so the interesting thing about this is that they clearly claim to be European, but somehow they're allowed to be European and American. But you are not allowed to be African and American in their own statement. In their own statement, they're talking about the founding stock of their people who were European. But again, you are not allowed to be African and American, but they are allowed to be of the European diaspora. And they are the founding stock of America. You are reclassified stock of America. Now, if this is truly the manifesto of the Patriot Front, if it is truly their feelings about what they deem to be the Black person in America, you have two, and the non-European diaspora stock, there are two major directions that this sentiment must bring to bear. Blue bloods, as Lorenda Hicks says. Two major sentiments that this statement brings to bear. Sentiment number one is how pervasive is this idea amongst American European diaspora stock? How far does this sentiment reach? For those of us who have social media and look at social media, quick Google will show you the hundreds of people that marched with this group. And this is one group. We understood what took place at the exiting of Donald Trump's presidency and the March on Washington. We're taking our nation back. the Reclaim America concepts that are still permeating throughout white America. How big is that sentiment? Is it interestingly enough, it wasn't big enough to put Donald Trump back as the president for a second term. Very interesting, because he woke up that base. So they were not big enough to force in a second term of Trump, which should be a good thing, unless we think that election was completely stolen. But how many individuals in positions of power, critical positions of power in this nation, in the military, because that looks like there's a lot of good old boys in the military who think like that. In Congress, sitting on the Supreme Court, Superior Court judges, district judges, state legislators. How many of these individuals, governors, DeSantis, Florida, how many of these, how many people think like these individuals here? How many? How many people believe as these individuals believe? How many? And so the black man in America has always had, and the black woman in America has always had the idea that there is a underlying threat to their own personal liberty, that the true sentiment of white America is never to give them true equality, is to give them scraps and the rest and the byproducts. That's always been an underlying thought, no matter how high you go or how low you go in the class system, how in the intelligence areas and individuals who are black with privilege, power, and money. There's always that underlying fear that there is some insidious plan by white America to bring again the rule of white right and subjugate others, inclusive of black people, to a place that takes us back to a pre-emancipation, pre-civil rights era. Let's run with that thought real quick. If that sentiment is so strong and so powerful and so positioned in the right place, because we know we don't have to worry about that everywhere. You don't have to worry about that everywhere. There's not a nationalistic full tilt mentality of every single white person in America that says we want to return to that. We know that because you have a strong liberal left, and they come in all different colors, shades, complexion, sizes, ideologies, and opinions. But we know they're not going back there. However, let's assume that sentiment becomes more contagious than we want it to become. It becomes a DeSantis presidency. It becomes new egregious draconian laws that manage immigrants and peoples of color, and the education of self-actualization by black people wanting to say, listen, this is our history, this is who we are, and now spreads into other races even that say, okay, well, we can pass as white, so we can actually use some of this for our own agenda and keep them in a position of subjugation. And let's say that can happen. One of the things that is very, very interesting is that the black expression of self-actualization and the white supremacist might actually be saying the same thing for a second. This is what we might be saying together. You don't want us to be American, and we want to be our own nation. Let's agree in the middle. Why don't we allow you to be America and we be something else? Why don't we allow you to take your country back? But we are going to divide up some things for us and say, we will separate ourselves. You separated communities, you separated water fountains, you separated hotels. Why don't we separate some land and territory and decide that you good old boys deserve to have your own and we deserve to have our own, and those twain shall not meet? Could the white supremacists be paving the pathway to African American nationhood? A nation of true godly people living in righteousness. Could white supremacists be literally paving a way that they could actually sit down at a table and say, you're right, we don't want you here. We don't want to support your neighborhoods. We don't want to police you. We don't want our social programs covering you. We don't want to protect you. We want to separate ourselves from you. We don't want our children marrying you. We don't want to listen to your music. We don't want to have to bow down to the so-called guilt of the historicity of us simply being dominant over you. We don't want to have to apologize anymore. We just want you to go away. How can we do that? How much will it take to write this check to say that we can literally close the door on you? You can become something else. We can draw a line in the sand and tell you, don't cross over here like we used to do down in Georgia. Don't come. If you're black, don't cross this line. We are pleased to do that. We are pleased to shut the door. And guess what? We'll share a little bit of, we'll deal with you guys to some extent, but we want a complete different border. We don't want you to cross over here unless you have a passport that we've stamped and let you come back on this side. And guess what? Many of you ain't going to get back over here unless we need you to work. Could it be? And I believe in this. I believe in this so strongly because I believe in this sentence that God put out into the world and says, all things work together for good to them that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. Could white supremacy be working things out for our good? Oh, let me say that one more time, like the Pentecostal preacher. Could white supremacy be working things out for the good of the Black, the African American, the Latino, the Asian, the brown, the Jew, the others who are not of European diaspora stock? Could they be literally paving a way to giving us a new nation? You know what? Let me tell you something. If that happens, white folks come in too. I'm telling you right now, white folks gonna come too. If Black people, and I'm going to include them in respect to how these jokers said it, the others, if Black people and the others, not of European stock, have said, we can start our own union, in fact, and we actually have no problem being separate from you. We will leave you with your IRS. We'll leave you with that. We'll leave you with your national debt. We'll leave you with that. We're definitely taking 50% of all the satellites, all the technology, all the drones. We're taking all of our soldiers. We're taking the nuclear bomb. We're taking the HARP. We're taking the gold resources too. We're taking that. We're taking some of our oil. We're taking some manufacturing. You can keep the coal though, Donald. We're going to take some stuff and say, hey, this is ours. You ain't going to get away with that 40 acres and a mule thing that you did with us before. We're going to take some stuff and say, hey, you're right. Let's form a new nation. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you, Israel ain't staying on the white right side. Israel ain't staying with y'all. We're going to get the Mossad. Oh yeah. You're not going to get Africa. You sure ain't going to get China. You damn sure ain't going to get Russia. You'll be left standing by yourself. You might pull off Great Britain. Germany might definitely be on your side. Belgium. You might get the French, but I'm not sure. I don't think you're going to get Italy. Italy's practically black now. Where will you be if that faction that you have identified as not being American agrees with you, sits down and says, shake my hand, let's break up. If you have a relationship and that person says, this isn't a marriage. I don't, you call this a marriage? This is your disgrace. This is not a marriage. I don't want this as a marriage. You really don't want this? You really don't want this? Can we break up right now? Can you sign this document right now? I'll give you 50% of the house. Okay? You share the kids, cut the bank accounts in half, and I run out the door right now. You take one car, I take one car. Sign it now. Can white supremacy be paving a path to black nationhood? My answer is yes. My position is that white supremacy is not just insulting. It is inspiring, because it's going to inspire communities to work together. I truly believe in racial coalition. I truly believe in racial coalition, but I only want to have a relationship with people who want to have a relationship with me. I'm not interested in a Cold War. I'm not interested in, well, if we've got a nuke pointed at you, I guess you can have one pointed at us. But the second we realize you've got one more, we're going to have trouble. I don't want that. I want to, if you're in a scenario where the house has a cantankerous woman living in the house, the Bible says it's better for a man to live on the rooftop of a house than to live inside of a house with a cantankerous woman. These groups are cantankerous. They're like cantankerous women. That's what these groups are like. Let's see what it says here. Let's see what the Southern Poverty Law Center said. Again, the Southern Poverty Law Center is its own group. I would never wholeheartedly embrace, endorse, or believe anything that's on their website. I would have to believe it for myself. I'd have to see it for myself. I'd have to read it for myself. So let me do that. The Southern Poverty Law Center says the Patriot Front is a white nationalist hate group that broke off from the Vanguard America in the aftermath of the deadly Unite the Right rally. That's what it says. That's what they say they are. The Anti-Defamation League says the Patriot Front is a white supremacist group in the United States that uses fascists and a circle of 13 stars as a logo. Right? The Anti-Defamation, they're going into the symbolism. Patriot Front is a white supremacist group formed by disaffected members of other white supremacist group, Vanguard America, in September of 2017, in the wake of the Unite the Right white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. Patriot Front falls into the alt-right segment of the white supremacist movement and presents itself as a patriotic nationalist group. A manifesto posted to the group's website soon after it formed, called for American fascism, right? It says that it uses 13 stars or placed the breast of an eagle, similar to bald eagle imagery associated with the U.S. government. Patriot Front members frequently post flyers and handbills in public featuring various anti-immigrant or other themes. These flyers also feature a Patriot logo. Now, when you read what these guys are basically saying, they have adopted a basically very pure Republican right-wing approach. They are directly in the DeSantis camp. I don't hear them echoing much different in respect to their politics on immigration. Of course, DeSantis can't stand up there and say that, you know, that America is really the place of white European diaspora. He can't say that from his office. But he can actually put laws in place that demonstrate that. And that's what he has done. Good morning to you, Yvonne. So, yeah, LaRonda Hicks says it sounds good, but they need folks to work. Listen, there's enough poor white people that they will be able to work. I think what needs to happen is that white people all over America who are in the poorer categories of life, who reject our allegation of white privilege because they are living poor. There's plenty of work for you guys now in Florida. There's plenty of work. There's plenty of work for you in Florida. I think white people all over America, all those coal miners, coal's not coming back. Don't lie to you. All you guys up in the hills, all the trailer parks, you guys need to go down to Florida now because the construction industry is booming for you guys now. All these migrant workers have moved out of there. They've run out of there. The farm workers that they needed to work the farm, gone. Okay. It is an amazing place right now for startup businesses. You want to do people's lawns, landscaping, all those things that the Mexican and Latino migrant workers were doing. That is a vacuum now for the white community to get in there and start getting people back to work. That's what you said. Reclaim America. Start in Florida. I want you to go down there and I want you to head out to those farms. I want you to head out to those construction sites and I want you to start working for minimum wage because that's okay. That's the wage your government created. And you get out there and earn your money because you know what? You have a right to work. It's your country, according to Patriot Front. So now that vacuum that has been created, absolutely wonderful. I'm calling on poor whites all over America to descend on Florida, to march down to the governor's mansion and to tell DeSantis, you're ready, you've arrived and you're ready to work. Okay. And everybody who's supporting his causes, all poor whites should go to Florida now. You've never had an opportunity like this before. Never. And a governor like that, he'll probably take care of you. He'll make sure you're okay. All right. Just don't let one of your out of town relatives who's not documented drive you there because you might get in trouble. So this concept is really, I'm really not even I'm not joking about this. That for me, white supremacy demonstrated like this helps the Black cause. It helps Black Jewish relationships. You heard what I said? It helps Black Jewish relationships because there's one thing the Jewish people know is that white supremacists don't like them. White supremacists take the time to learn that white supremacists will take time to figure out if you're a Jew. So there's Jewish people were concerned during the Kyrie Irving aftermath that Blacks were angry with them and that relationship was severed and was done great harm. They were right. We were very angry with you guys. Maybe some of that sentiment has calmed down, and that's good. That's a very good thing, because we don't need to have a war with the Jewish community. We need to have a sit down with the Jewish community and unite on platforms where we have historically united on. But let's just balance the playing field a little bit, because we know that there's a little bit balance in your favor. But what we do need to do is remember that the occasional anger from Black people in America, because there is no people in the world with more grace than Black people in America. Oh yeah, we'll get upset. And when we get upset, it's hell to pay. But you have not seen the wrath of the Black man and the Black woman in America for what crimes have been committed against them. We are the most amicable group of people that the world has ever seen. The Black man in America is the most amicable group of people the world has ever seen, because the amount of true rage they should have for what has been done to them, the world would not be able to contain the rage. So what should happen now is knowing that we have forgiven. No, we haven't forgiven. We've pardoned. We've given you grace, right? That this is the time, I believe, that the Jewish community and the Black community to again sit down and say, hey, we have a lot more in common that we do not in common. We have some interest that we must maintain. We have. Jewish people need to make sure, Jewish Americans need to make sure that people that will not take positions for their extermination, their excommunication, are people who are community leaders, who are sitting in government, who are sitting in courts, who are driving police cars, who are forming organizations, who are building business. We have to make sure there's a true unity between Israel and the Black community. We have to make sure that that the concepts of anti-Semitism in the Black community is a oxymoronic terminology for us. It cannot even happen. It's foolish. It's silly. It doesn't make sense. We have to make sure that we have positioned ourselves to be aware that there are groups like this that will choose very specific times. Mother's Day, we want you to know, Mother's Day, when everybody's sitting at home, chilling, watching, we want you to know we're here. We want you to know we're coming. We want you to know that we can march on Washington because it's ours. And we have to pay attention to these guys. You got to pay attention to these guys. You got to pay attention to these guys, right? And we have work to do. We have work to do. Good morning, Black Panther X. We have work to do. So, white supremacist, thank you. Thank you for letting us know that this is still America. Thank you for letting us know that no one will ever truly be comfortable renting another man's house, because the landlord comes every month telling you it's his and you need to pay him to be here. The threat of deportation, the threat of eviction, right, is always there, because the house isn't your house, right? You have been, according to the Patriot front group, you have been classified as an American, but you are not, according to them. According to them, I'm not saying it. Remember, I'm not saying it. You have been classified as an American, according to the Patriot Front, the group of conscientious citizens of the white diaspora, right? You must recognize. Let me tell my boy I'm calling. Stan, I'm on a live. I'll call you back. Okay? You must recognize that these groups are not just little factions of this disgruntled little middle American guys, you don't know who are behind those masks. That's just the face that you see. Those are just the ones able to walk. What about the ones sitting back in their rocking chairs, controlling generational wealth? What about the ones who can pick up the phone and call the governor and call Congress and call the president and say, hey, I need you to do this. You know, you got to do it. You can't sit back here and be dumb. Can't sit back in here and be dumb. Right? To the white supremacists, if you want to sit down with the Black community and the Latino community and the Jewish community and the left, white, conservative / evangelical, they're still on the left community, and then the right, who is not on your side community, and you want to have a conversation about being on your own, no problem. In fact, we might put you on an island and make you into the new Puerto Rico. Maybe you're not big enough to take over most of the country. Maybe we'll give you Maine. How about that? How about we give you Maine and Vermont and leave you out there? And Maine and Vermont is saying, no, we don't want them either. This country permits some things that they cause our head to shake. And, many of you are just saying, oh, it's been happening. Still America. The sky's not falling. People are going to march up and down for everything. They're going to march for same-sex rights. They're going to march for transgender rights. They're going to march for all kinds of rights, Black rights, Latino rights, Jewish rights. Everybody's been marching. They've been marching up and down this country since it began. The country's still here. It's not a big deal. Some people are going to say that. Some people are going to sit back and say, it's not a big deal, Del. It's not a big deal. These guys are just doing what everybody does. Don't worry. The union is still intact. And that's maybe a wise, balanced, long look at it. But I'll say this, and I'll end with this. There has never been an empire been destroyed from within. There has never been an empire in the history of the world that has not been destroyed from within. Okay? Got to be an empire because it's powerful. And the only way to tear down a great empire is to destroy it from within. The longer you sit there and say, oh, it's okay, it's not a problem, it's not an issue, is the more that your union crumbles and crumbles and crumbles until it turns into something that it shouldn't be. This is Del K. Brereton. This is The Real Spiel. I hope you are all well. Everything's well with me, Black Panther X. Mystery, Babylon the Great, has fallen. Black Panther X, you said something there, Brady. Because they don't know who Babylon is. Mystery, the great city, Babylon has fallen. There's never been an empire that has not fallen from within. Pay attention, be vigilant, say your prayers, reserve your soul for God, kiss your children, honor your wife, honor your mothers and your fathers, lift up your husbands, join hands with your community, build a nation, not out of dissent, not out of fear, out of destiny. This is Del K. Brereton, and this is The Real Spiel.